All right. Hello, everyone. I am going to give people a few minutes to join, and sorry about the event mix-up. I don't know, tech is always challenging on Facebook, so I had to create a new event to get in here. So I'll give people a couple minutes to join, see if anyone pops on, and this will be a pretty quick live. We'll just be going over the Taurus season program. It's our first partnership piece of this program. So I'll talk about what that looks like, and then I will do a sample reading. So I'm going to give it a minute and also check my phone and see if I get anything. Okay, great. I'm getting comments on my phone, so we're able to see them. Yay. Welcome in. Tina, glad you can be here. All right, so I'll check my phone periodically, but just wanted to kind of start going over everything about Taurus season and what that is going to look like. Let me pull up my notes. Oops. I got a new laptop and I'm still kind of figuring out all the things, like getting used to it a little bit. Now I've lost Facebook. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the partnership, just to kind of go over this again. So we are in Aries season. We've kind of wrapped up the first part, which was for Aries season was the introduction and the first round of the Know Thyself form. So the deadline to participate in the Taurus season was April 10th. So if you did not submit, that's totally fine. You can still submit. You would just go into Gemini season. So this is for the people that are in the partnership for Taurus season. In order to be in this partnership, you have to pass a test, and those people that pass the test have already been added to the group chat. And then we've opened a poll so you can decide, if you want to participate in Taurus season or not. And I think we had 100% of the people in there wanted to participate, which is great. We will randomly pair everybody as partners. And I am hoping to get that out later today, if not tomorrow or the next day. And I'll get those over as quickly as I can. And then whoever your partner is, you'll have a private message where you'll start doing the partnership and the reading. So here are some key dates for Taurus season. And it will look very similar for each of the seasons. There's 12 zodiacal signs, right? So that means there's 12 seasons in a year. So this program is going to move very fast, and there will be some little bit of overlap because we're just going to move right from one season into the other. So just know that going in. So you want to try to, don't wait until the last minute to do everything and wait until the deadline, because then you're just going to get overwhelmed moving into the next round. So let me give you those dates. And this is going to be for Taurus. So the Know Thyself form was due on April 10th. The live today is April 13th. And then we'll assign partners, with either today or the next couple of days. And then Taurus season kind of officially starts on April 19th, and that's when the readings can begin. So you can start doing your readings from April 19th, and then you have until May 20th to be done. Now, we're actually going to set a deadline goal, and that goal is going to be the 10th. So May 10th is really when you should have your readings done. The sooner the better, because we're doing readings with the season, and we want to really work with the seasonal energies when we're doing this reading. So if you're waiting until May 19th to get this done, you're really tapping more into that Gemini energy that's going on through the air. The reason that we're doing this kind of goal deadline instead of a hard deadline is it is really fast paced, and I understand that people have things that come up. So we want to give you the full season, but you should really be aiming to do your reads the first half of the season. If something comes up or you just know you have like an event or something like that, then you can wait a little bit. But the deadline is Gemini's first day, right? So that means that you're going straight from Taurus. The next day is Gemini, and we'll already have been moving forward with the prompts, the live, and all that kind of stuff for Gemini. So for every single season, we're going to have about a week where we're starting to introduce the new season and we're wrapping up the old season. So I want everybody to really fully understand that in this program. It is going to be so fast-paced. It's just how it works, and I really want to stick with the zodiacal energy. I think it's important that we work with that, and knowing that there are limitations just because of the pace and the speed of those. All right. So again, the dates are, today is the live, or first April 10th, which is the past, was the deadline to complete the Know Thyself form for Taurus season. Today is the live. We'll be assigning partners shortly after this. You can start doing your readings on April 19th, and your goal deadline is May 10. Your absolute end is going to be May 20th. That's your hard deadline. Okay? So let's talk about how to do a reading. This partnership is about readings. We're still learning. We're always learning. You can be a beginner astrologer in here, but we have the test that you had to pass to get into this program to test your basic knowledge to ensure that you're ready to do readings. In order to do that, you'll connect with your partner that you've been assigned, and each person will need to provide their birthday, their time of birth, and the location of where they were born, and you can send that over in a private message. So let's say, Angel is my partner, and then she sent me her info. So now I am going to create a chart. And we recommend using astro.com, but you can use whatever you want. And you will do a reading of their chart based on the prompt. So I'm going to say that again. You're going to do the reading based on the prompt. So this is not a full chart read. You don't need to go into any random thing you want to talk about. We want you to really stay on topic with the prompt. We'll probably have, the same partners in the future and things like that. And so the prompt is where we're focusing on, what we're learning. You can pull in knowledge, you can pull in aspects of their chart, but really working on connecting to the prompt in order to do the reading. It is your choice if you want to do a video, if you want to do voice notes, or you want to type something out. That's completely up to the reader's choice. I know people have different preferences, they have different comfortability levels, and it's up to you how you want to do that, okay? So again, it's not a full reading, we're focusing on the prompt. And if you are going to do a voice or a video, we would recommend that the reading be about 10 to 15 minutes in length, so that's a good playback time. That doesn't mean that that's how long it took you to research and do all the things and create your notes and everything for the reading. If you are newer, it's going to take you longer. You're going to need to research and look things up. If you are more seasoned, you might be able to just, spend 10 minutes prepping and then spend 10 minutes giving the read. That takes time and energy to get there. So when you're first starting, plan to have some time to sit with the prompt, look at the chart, create some notes, and then be ready to give the reading. So what your partner will receive would be about 10 to 15 minutes of a voice note or a video, or maybe about a page of a typed reading. So you could do that on, you could just put it inside of Messenger if you want, or you could maybe type it up in notes or on Google Drive and send that over as well. So it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. But that's the expectation, to really, be thorough with the prompt. So what I recommend is using your notes, and I'm going to really show you how to do this, but just to kind of go through a few things, right? So I have a chart right here that we're going to look at today, and these are the notes that I use for any astrological reading. I have these with me. I have my cheat sheet. I also have a grimoire with other stuff too, but I have, all the things that I have at my fingertips right here. So I strongly recommend that you have that. If you have it on your phone or something, or a computer, like, that's fine. I like to have a paper copy. It's up to you, again, to kind of develop your style and develop what tools are going to be the most useful for you. But I definitely recommend that you have tools to do this. It's different than something like oracle or runes or tarot, right? You might have a guidebook, you may have those all memorized. There's a lot with astrology, and so maybe you can do it all through memorization, but that's not most astrologers. Most actually do a lot of time researching and prepping before reading, okay? And many of these exact things are in the guides. It's probably maybe 2 years old at this point, so you might have to scroll back a bit, but I have added those in there, so you can print those. There's other ones as well, and then of course plenty of other resources out there that you can find on Pinterest or Google, or you can create your own notes, and change it up. If you have something and you're like, I don't really like this, change it up. It has taken me a while to really create the notes, create the guides and things that work really well for me. All right. Okay, so let's go into the prompt and why we chose this prompt. So it is Taurus season, and I'm going to go through a bunch of information about Taurus, but the prompt is built off of Taurus, and the prompt is provide a reading about your partner's values of luxury, comfort, and nature. So I'm going to read that again. Provide a reading about your partner's value of luxury, comfort, and nature. So those things are all really tied into Taurus and the energy with this season. So that is what the prompt is about. And again, you're going to be really bringing everything that you talk about with your partner's chart reading back to this prompt. Okay, so quick refreshers, a little bit of bonus info. Let's talk about Taurus. So Taurus's symbol is the bull. So the glyph is the circle, right? And it has the little horns up on the top. The element is earth, and it is a fixed sign. The rulership is Venus, and it rules over the second house. So the second house is wealth, material, possessions, and self-worth. So now you can already probably start seeing why we picked the prompt that we did, right? Because the second house is wealth, material possessions, self-worth. Venus, there's a lot of earth energy here, so that's where the values around luxury, comfort, and nature all come into play. So qualities of Taurus. Sorry, I am getting a lot of phone calls. It's probably going to happen again because it is my birthday today. So apologize for all the distractions coming through. So qualities of Taurus is they are reliable, practical, patient, devoted. They can be stubborn. They're hedonistic, and if you don't know what that means, it's really about prioritizing pleasure, putting pleasure first in all things in life, having a lot of sensuality, luxuriousness. Taurus is very persevering, can also be aggressive and forceful, and it's when we think about Taurus, we're connecting with all of our senses, like touch, feel, I guess the same thing, touch, taste, really getting your hands in the earth, like all the senses that you're having, the smell, the taste. These are all very connected to Taurus. And it's about experiencing and loving our our time here on Earth. That's a lot that's going on with Taurus. So we think about Aries, which is kind of right now we're moving, we're approaching the cusp of Aries and moving into Taurus. So Aries is knowing about like ourselves. Know thyself really aligns to the motto for Aries of I am, and that's, we timed this all very intentionally. So now as we're moving to Taurus, we're kind of going through the first gate of the zodiac. So we're moving into this new piece where it's not just about us. We're moving into this 3D reality, connecting to the physicality of Earth and our experience here. So it's not so much an internal who am I energy that Aries is. Now we're really moving forward into this material reality and really learning how to live in this physical world, this physical dimension. Like that's a big part of Taurus. And that's kind of the earth aspect as well in the reading. So kind of spiritually too, we're looking at really bringing our conscious and our spirituality into the physical dimension on earth, learning how to vibrate here on earth, and having this like fun and pleasurable and knowledgeable physical life. And I know we've had recently like a book club on alchemy, and now we're learning one on contacting spirit guides. And a lot of these really focus on the physical aspect of our lives, kind of being the first part of the spiritual journey, like making sure our physical health is really good. And this is actually a perfect parallel to that, because as we learn who am I with Aries, now we're moving to Taurus of like, okay, let's bring this into the physical. So just wanted to point that out for anybody that may be aligned to either of those books or having that anywhere. Okay, so let's talk more about Taurus. The motto is I have. So material possessions are very big for Taurus, and that is their motto. I have blank. So you think about that as a Taurus and having this energy. What is it that you have? What is it that you want to have? What is it that you need to have? These are all very much Taurus energy. So we also have the part of the body. Each of the zodiac signs align to various parts of the body. Where Aries has the head, it's kind of more of like the horns on the head, right? Like you think of the rams in a ram inn. So now we have Taurus, more of the face and the nape. So it's the front part of the head. So we have the eyes, the ears, the mouth, and the throat chakra, so the voice, being able to project that experience. And the aligned chakra is the throat. So that corresponds very nicely with the body, the face, and the nape, and then the throat chakra. So the color is green and soft pastels. So those are the pieces about that. So I actually have some tarot cards I wanted to kind of go through and like bring this energy in as well. The tarot and astrology are very, very interlinked, and it can also really help with readings and kind of just understanding a bit. So this one is not exactly, make sure you can see the preview. Hopefully you can see these well. So this is not a tarot, it's an oracle, but this is Taurus. And so I just wanted to share this card to kind of get some of this energy of Taurus here. So this may help you kind of manifest, like, what is it we're thinking about, like manifesting the thoughts that connect to Taurus. Okay, so the tarot card that is aligned to Taurus, that's really ruled by Taurus, is the Hierophant. So we see in the Hierophant the priest and the people under him. It's like we're looking, how do I create this spiritual reality? Like, how can I bring myself into this physical reality, these thoughts, these feelings, like merging who I am with the spirituality that I'm feeling and bringing these two halves into the physical realm. And that's what the Hierophant can do. It can help people merge these two sides of them. And that's the connection in this card. Also, the King of Pentacles, is ruled by Taurus, and this one's really obvious, right? We've got the Bull here, really making this known. And the deck that I'm using today, it's called After Tarot, so it shows each of the cards like a few moments after kind of the traditional Rider-Waite deck. Empress is also often represented with Taurus. It is ruled by Venus, but there's a lot of overlap with the Taurus and the Venus, and especially for this reading. We'll look at Venus placements a lot. So this is another good card to kind of connect in with this energy as well. But just remember, this one, it is ruled by Venus, not by Taurus. The first two are the Taurus rulership. And then for the minor arcana, we have the Five of Pentacles, and this one is Mercury in Taurus. And you can kind of see this, right? When we start thinking about, what does Mercury mean? What does Taurus mean? We've got Mercury, communication, reason. It's like, do we want to go in the church? Do we want to communicate with this person? Do we want to help this person out here? It's kind of thinking like, I don't know what I want to do with that Taurus energy of resources. And then we've got the Six of Pentacles, the Moon in Taurus. So now we're looking at like the flow of resources. So we have the moon and the phases, like sometimes we're the beggar, sometimes we're the one that can give. And this exchange of resources, fixed earth resources, is displayed in this card. Okay, and then lastly, we have Saturn in Taurus, and this one is the harvest. Saturn is like restriction, and this is like not taking too much, right? So this deck shows this very well. He's just taking, a couple of things here. He's not taking everything off the plant. So he's being restricted in the harvest, in a sustainable way. All right. So wanted to show you those so that you can kind of really get in tune with some of these energies. And the tarot and the astrology readings go really hand in hand, because when you start to get these really deep meanings of the cards, you can be like, oh, okay, that's what it means when I have a moon in Taurus. It's represented in this card. Or, that's what I mean when I have a Saturn in Taurus. And then you can add the complexities of the house and the aspects and everything too. All right, so I am going to pause and check for comments on my phone, and then go into a sample reading. And there is a share screen feature I'm hoping to use today. If it doesn't work, which we know how Facebook is, probably won't, but let's hope it does. I will try to do that, otherwise it will be pretty challenging, but seeing as the comments don't work, I don't have a lot of faith right now. Okay, let me see if there's any comments. It's trying to load. Oh, thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you. I'm glad you like my home. So I've gotten a laptop, and I only had a desktop before, so it's in like this office room that I have that we've kind of never really done that much with, and so I'm like glad I can move around to other parts of my house now. It's it's really nice having the laptop. But thank you. This is a room I really enjoy over here. And Atina, thank you for the birthday wishes. And yes, it's understandable if you want to join and you won't be able to keep up. I understand. And we talked about this in the other live. I don't want to get too deep into all of the program requirements and things, but you can take breaks. You don't have to like leave the group or anything like that. So we just put the poll in, and you say, do you want to participate next time, yes or no? And then if you say yes, you participate. If no, we'll skip. We haven't talked about like how many you're allowed to skip in the year or how many in a row. It's probably something Angel and I need to talk about. But we'll just kind of develop this stuff as we go. But you can absolutely, take a break. We don't want you to be overwhelmed with this at all. So you can always take the test, and once you pass the test, that's it. You never have to take it again. So you can go in and take the test and then participate in the seasons that you feel good about. Rosalind, thank you. I'm glad that you're here considering. And yes, the prompts I think will really help because you can go anywhere with an astrology reading. And so the prompts are here to keep it short and sweet and have a focus. And it's okay to have to look everything up for sure. I look up probably 50%. I've been doing this for 20 years. Some of it I've definitely got memorized. Other things I forget. And so there's no expectation to not be able to look things up. Do we have a specific chart format? That's a great question. So I say just kind of use like the standard chart formats, not to move things around too much, just kind of do what will auto-populate using, what is it, the Placidus? I always forget the word. Like a Placidus chart. We're trying to keep it pretty simple, but if you are a reader who uses a different style, you are welcome to do that. You'll just want to tell your partner that you're doing it that way and follow the reading based off of your knowledge. So I can't advise to other types of chart pulls. Those aren't the types of astrology that I work with. If you wanted to do a Vedic reading or something, I don't really know a whole lot about that. But you're welcome to provide that reading for your partner. Just know you're going to be kind of on your own in terms of doing a read like that. All right, so those are all the questions that we have, and I'm going to try to do a screen share. Let me see what will happen here. I have no idea how to do this, so hang tight. I actually do not see an option at all. So when I first log in, I'm able to see this stuff, but once I'm actually live, I can't. Just going through all the settings. Okay, I don't think this is going to happen. But what I will do is, settings, no. Truly, Facebook Live is awful, for the record. So I am going to drop this link into the chat, and I did print it just because I figured it probably wouldn't work. So I'm putting the URL in here for anybody later that wants to be able to do this. But we do have a birth chart, so we are going to practice doing a reading on here, and this is Stevie Nicks' chart. So we're going to talk a little bit about her chart and looking at the prompt, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is I have my blank notes. I have her chart, so I'd probably pull this up on my computer, and then I would have my notes that I would take notes on, and then I have all of my resources over here. So these are all of my, my things that I use on my regular reads. They're all kind of old, the paper marks and everything, because I've been using these for a long time. This is what my general stuff is for all my readings. And we're going to look at the prompt. So the prompt is values of luxury, comfort, and nature. So the first thing, it's Taurus season. So let's check and see if this person has anything going on with Taurus. Now, your partner may have nothing aligned to Taurus, but there's still lots of ways to do this reading, okay? So first, we're looking at CV next, and this is probably all going to be backwards, which is terrible for a demo, but we have to deal with the resources we have. I'm trying to do this in a way that is all backwards for me too. So we're looking at Taurus, and this is in the first house. So not too much going on there. She has her north node in Taurus. And we also see a little R next to that. So if you don't know what that means that it is retrograde. So her north node is in retrograde. And if I look at my other guides that I have here, I'm like, oh, I can't remember what a node is or something, right? I would know that the node now, it says your potential. So we know that is like the karmic goals maybe that this person is coming in with. So Stevie Nicks has her north node in Taurus. So that is very interesting for this this prompt, right? Because now we know, hey, this person's really being guided by Taurus as their kind of like life goal coming in. Even though this person is not a Taurus sun sign, actually has, I don't think any. Yeah, their sun, their moon, their rising, none of that is in Taurus, right? So it doesn't matter. We can do a lot of reading within this. The ascendant is Aries, but the Taurus, as you can see, it is in the first and the second house. So you can see the lines, they don't line up, and that's normal. There's some people that have it line up perfectly, most don't. So we work with the chart we have. And we look at what's going on in all of these aspects or all these things. And we think about retrograde. So what does it mean when a planetary placement is retrograde? So we know that when they're retrograde, that they're going to have just a lot more of an internalized energy, like the focus is inward instead of something projected and outward. So the north node is the karmic path, like what the person is really trying to fulfill, what they're trying to go into. And hers is retrograde. So this is a really internalized process, and that's really hard for her to get this out into the world because it's retrograde. And it's also in the first house. So the first house, if we go to our chart, I'm going to just kind of go through this to help you, right? So we look at our list, and that's the self. So we know in the first house, that she's really trying to figure out, like, who am I? Like, how do I get this into the physical space of Taurus? This is like the life path, like the entire karmic goal for this chart here in the first house. Okay, so that's a really important part, and that would already probably be able to give me, as you watch the time, I've already got 5 minutes just on this one piece for this chart. Okay. So now looking at, that's the only Taurus placement that she has. But now we want to look at the second house. Okay, so the second house, because the second house is ruled by Taurus, and that is the natural rulership. But that doesn't mean that her house is ruled by Taurus, right? Hers has some Taurus in it, but it's also got a lot of Gemini. So even her sun is in the second house, but she's a Gemini. So, we are looking at that and we're trying to be like, okay, how does this make sense? So how do I relate this back to the prompt? We are looking at the values of luxury, comfort, and nature. Well, everything related to the second house is about possessions and home, money, security. So her energy of herself, which also parallels with this last thing we talked about, right, with the node, is about really bringing herself into, it's, right smack in the middle of the second house, and it's really about bringing herself and her possessions and wealth forward in this relation and communication aspect. So we think of Gemini and communication, the twins, the duality, And she's bringing this internal experience through communication. She's a singer and a songwriter, and she did that. So she really did follow the chart path here. So that in itself, like very, very heavy on the Taurus energy, and the prompt here aligns very much just to those two things. So what if your person doesn't have anything like that on their chart, which they might not, okay? Still lots we can talk about. So let's look at Venus. Everyone has Venus. So even if they have a second house that's empty, and even if they have a, where if we were looking at any of these houses, we could find where Taurus is sitting, and maybe it's on an empty one, right? Because maybe the Taurus is like way over here, and we would be like, oh, okay, your Taurus is around the 8th house, and we know 8th house is about death. Well, then we would be like, okay, maybe there's some connection there, so you could talk about that with your partner. That's an example that I'm giving, not one on this chart. I hope that makes sense. Oh, and I have comments on the computer now, which is great. Awesome. So if you have questions, I can now see them more in real time. And let's look at other things, right? So let's look at Venus. Everybody has a Venus placement, so you can absolutely talk about this. So let's look at Stevie Nicks. Her Venus, we're going to go and find the little glyph, and we see it sitting here in the 3rd house, right on the cusp. It's in the 3rd house of, is it 3rd house? Yeah. This is not the chart that I normally use. I normally use astro.com, but I'm using AstroSeek in this example because they just have the celebrities as a heads up. But we have her Venus in Cancer. So what do we know about Venus, and what do we know about Cancer? We could ask, and we can use our charts, right? So I'm going to go back to my guide, and I have this little formula that I like to use, and all of this stuff was talked about in previous lives, right? So this is all a refresher, but a very quick way to do a reading is to look at the planet plus the sign plus the house. That gives you 3 major points of topic. It's kind of like a 3-card spread. There's a lot you can say about that. So you can for sure do this on your partner, no matter where any placements are. You would look at Venus, which we know is about love, beauty, and art. And we would see where that placement is. So for Stevie Nicks, we have our Venus, and her Venus is in Cancer, and it is in the 3rd house, right on the cusp. So when it's right on the cusp, it kind of pulls in some of that energy from the other one. But you still want to tie in the real house it's in, right? So I'm going to put more importance on the 3rd house because it is in the 3rd house. And then I am going to relate some of that information over to the 4th house. I think this is hard to read on here. I sure hope it is the 3rd house. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's the, hold on. Yeah, sorry, different formats between the different tools, it can be challenging because they all have kind of a different, slightly different layout. And okay, so we look at these things. So we know that she has Venus in Cancer in the 3rd house. So now we're going to use that formula. So we know Venus is expressions of love, comfort, creativity, and Cancer is a very motherly energy, the feminine energy. Some keywords for that, like healer, homemaker, emotionality, right? So these are all really major aspects tied in very heavily in here. So the third house, we go back to our houses, and we have communication and thought. That's the 3rd house. So that again plays into the same things we've seen really play out in this chart, which is that communication of feminine love values with this like deep rooted internal kind of trying to think of the word I would use here, like an internal, maybe a conflict or internal growth or something that she's had to go through very internally, and then to communicate that out. That's a really important part of her chart. And working through arts specifically. So we see this very heavily. And then this feminine mother energy, the Venus in Cancer, like those are the two really feminine signs, or planet and sign together. And in the third house of communication and thought, and on the edge of the fourth house. So we're bringing in some of that energy, and the fourth house rules over the home, family, and emotion. So if you think about her songs, you can really see this with the home aspect, the emotional side, connecting in with, partnerships and family and things too. So all of the things we've talked about so far kind of say the same thing about her chart. Really lines up. So that's kind of, some of the very basic things that you can look with at the chart. So we've now looked at, okay, is there anything Taurus about the chart? So this one had the node, and then we're going to look at the second house. So do we have anything going on in the second house? This chart, it has the sun sign in the second house. So these are important placements that are in this. Your partner may not have those, but you're going to check, right? You're going to check, and if they don't, then you share that in your reading. And then for the Venus, that is very related to this prompt. So everyone is going to have a Venus. So your partner for sure is going to have a Venus placement, and you can talk about that. And it's possible that your partner their chart is like, you're not really here to build, values of luxury or values of comfort. Like their chart may not have that. This example chart does. But you're going to really dive into these areas, right? But for sure, they will have a Venus, and you can talk about that as it relates to the prompt. Okay, so the next thing we can look at is this table down here. So these tables are our aspect tables. And actually, this was one thing on the test that almost everyone missed, and we are going to revise the question. There's 2 questions related to aspects, and we're going to revise that for the next round. In order to pass the test, you need 70%, so everybody that passed, was in the program. And the question said, what is the positive aspects of your chart and what is the negative aspects of your chart? So even myself, when I took the test as a practice, I did not catch at first. I was like, oh, shoot, I need to actually put in the aspects. And I wrote the test. But I think most people looked at that and just thought like, oh, what are some generic positive things about my chart and what are some generic negative things about my chart? And we were actually specifically asking about like the aspects, which is opposition, trine, square, sextile, things like that. So we will be changing we'll change the question for the next round. So anybody wanting to take the test, we'll just say specifically what are positive aspects, aka trine, things like that. What are negative, aka square, opposition. So you just need to list 1 or 2 on your test. But yeah, so most people miss that. I don't think it's because people don't know. It's just the question, I don't think it was worded well. And we did get 1 person get it right, so congrats. I think you know who you are. Anyway, so, okay, we'll go back to the reading. So we're going to look at the aspects. This is another part of kind of the basics of astrology, is being able to read the aspects. So we can do that with Venus. Again, everybody's going to have a Venus placement. If they have a sun in Taurus, you absolutely need to be talking about that. If they have a moon in Taurus, you absolutely need to be talking about that. Or any other placements in Taurus, now you're going to want to actually do a little bit of a deeper dive on those. So Stevie Nicks, she only had her node in there. The node is not exactly a planet, but we can certainly look at that if we wanted to. So for her reading, I probably would go into, some of the node, but for today, we'll just really focus on Venus because everyone will have that in their charts. So we're going to look at the aspect chart, and we're going to go to Venus. Hopefully you can see this. Okay, so we've got Venus, and then we're going to go down the list. Sorry, it's so hard for me to do this in a way that shows on the screen. So I really recommend just pull her chart up and maybe look at that while you're reading. But you're just going to go down the chart, and then it's just like in a little Excel sheet, right? So we're going to look at what the Venus placement has connected to the other signs, and that is another thing to read, to provide in this reading as related to the prompt, because we know Venus is very tied into this prompt. So for Stevie Nicks, she has a Venus square Neptune. So we go down the list, we see Venus, we see a bunch of blanks, so that means there's nothing happening there. And then we go to a square, and we see Neptune, and we see Neptune in retrograde. So that's another parallel to that North Node being in retrograde in Taurus. So again, really an internal struggle here with Venus and Neptune. So we haven't talked about Neptune today, so maybe you're like, I can't remember what Neptune means. So we're going to go to our resources, and we'll look up, okay, what is Neptune? Neptune is about imagination, dreams, and delusions. So that's already an internal struggle. Like, maybe you push that out, but pretty much everybody is, our imagination, our dreams, and delusions are already an internal thing. If it's an external thing, that's probably not good. We can imagine what that looks like. But it's already an internal thing. But for her, it is like such a deeper internal thing because it's retrograde. So it doesn't mean it's the opposite or anything. It just means that it's internal. So in this sign, this is a cool example because since it's already an internal thing that's going on for her, now it's becoming even deeper internal, like even more of that energy. So very intense. And it is square. So we know that square is a negative, right? So if this was a color copy or the website, you'll see it is red. Red is negative. Blue is positive. I only have a black and white printer, so I apologize. But if you click on the link in the chat, you will see it. And we have this square of Neptune. So what if you're like, okay, I remember that square is negative, but I don't really remember what it means. What do? We go to our resources, and we can look up, okay, square. That means that planets in square are squaring up to a challenge. So it's inhibitive. It makes it harder to express our drives fully, but equally we strive to hone and perfect our skills. So poor Stevie Nicks here with this is a negative placement. We all have positive and negative placements. That's a lot. She has this internal retrograde Neptune that is square her Venus. So the things that she loves, the things that she wants, like the passion, the connection, the things all associated with Venus, this feminine energy, is square her dreams, her illusions, her fantasies, and trying to bring all of that out. That is a really challenging dynamic for her. So something that she had a very, very hard time doing based off her chart. I don't want to speak to her personal experience, but based off of my reading of her chart and what I know, which is pretty little, honestly, about her personal life, it seems to check out. But the thing about the square is that what it says on here is we strive to hone and perfect our skills. So she followed that in her chart, and she did. She really honed and perfected the skills of being able to communicate and express that internal feeling. And look at what it did. It created this art that really deeply moves and touches people in those exact qualities, those feminine aspects. I don't want to use the word aspect, sorry. Those feminine qualities and emotions and feelings as tied into the energies of Neptune. And so many people connect with her music on this really, really deep way. So that was expressed in her chart, and she really followed that. And she's achieved very great things. Um, so we have that, and then let's look at some other Venus placements. So she has Venus sextile the North Node. So here we go back to the North Node. She has her North Node in Taurus. So here, back on track with this reading. This one's like a double, triple whammy. Everything we just said is now amplified. So we have pretty much the same dynamic, and this one's in the aspect of self, in this karmic piece. It's the first house itself. It has the Taurus aspect. So she's really bringing this need and this drive with her karmic goal here in this lifetime to express this Taurian energy into the world. And again, it's retrograde, so extra challenging for her to do. She must have put in a lot of work having these aspects in here, but it at the same time allowed her to really perfect these qualities, which she's seen great success with. So the sextile is a positive aspect, right? That would be a blue aspect on this chart, and that's a really positive thing that's helping her here. So as she's followed that karmic path, and her node, as she's followed the node energy that's leading her chart, it started to become favorable for her. Okay, so now we're looking down the Excel chart, and we also see a sextile in Fortune. So, and then we see an opposition to the midheaven. We're not going to go into that too much because I haven't really taught on those things, but if you know about them, you absolutely can put this stuff in your reading, or if you want to research it on your own and bring that stuff into your reading. I'm just trying to give the basics kind of for everybody else, but I mean, this one is kind of obvious. The fortune is the fortune in the chart. So she has, that's sextile, and that's, again, a very positive thing. So this just reinforces what I was saying. She actually is going to have fortune aligned with this, which, again, we saw play out in her life. And then the opposition of the midheaven, that one is a little bit more in depth, but she has this opposition of that. She has a lot going on in her nighttime chart, and then you see at the midheaven at the top, oh my gosh, it's backwards, it's driving me crazy, the moon. So that if you know a little bit about astrology, you might be like, wow, that's so cool, because her midheaven, the sun, the moon is right there, and then it's in opposition, and she sings about the moon and like all these things. So that's pretty cool if you know about that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. So that is kind of it, right? So that's a lot that we've already covered in this chart, in the sample reading. So like I kind of created like some notes. I just kind of did the reading like as I was doing it, but these are the notes that I just kind of did freehand for myself. I've been doing readings, and so I can kind of just do it on the fly a little bit more now. But if this was my first time, I would write down like, okay, we have Venus in Cancer in the 3rd and 4th house. And if I don't know what those things mean, I would probably write them down so that I have these things in my notes. Okay, and that's the prep work that I would do before maybe doing a voice note to my partner. So I would have probably, I'd talk about the, let me just write down examples. We would talk about Taurus energies. We would talk about 2nd house. We would talk about Venus, and then aspects, right? So these are all, again, I'm sorry, it's probably backwards, but these are the things that I would have in my notes, and I would find them in the chart, and I would write them all down. Like I would have these bullet points, and then as I am ready to like do a voice note of the reading, I have all these facts. I already have the key points that I'm going to talk about in the reading, and depending on your level of comfort and your style, you may channel things in as you go. You may have things that come to you. You may have more insights, especially if you do kind of like a ritual to connect with your person. You want to light a candle, incense, like whatever it is. You can do that, and you may get intuitive messages past your astrology reading. That happens to me a lot. But you're still going to use the notes that you have from astrology. Um, and my recommendation to you as a reader is to include both, and to also be clear in your communication with your partner about when you're getting a channeled message and when you're using something off the chart. So let's say I was doing this and I was talking about, like, let's say I was talking about the sun sign being in the second house with Gemini, and I was like, hey, I just got this message from like a potential relationship thing, or this communication, this duality, something that just like popped in my mind. I would say, hey, I'm getting a message right now. This is what it is. And then I would say what the message is, and then I would say, okay, and now back to like the things on your chart. So that is a tip that I recommend that you do for your reader, or for your readee, as you're reading your chart, if you want to include stuff like that. And a lot of this stuff really comes with practice, and it takes time. And that's exactly what this partnership program is for, is really being able to practice communicating these things, like practice looking at the chart, practice bringing the information that are facts, right, out of the chart, out of the knowledge that you have, like bringing these facts together and then being able to communicate and paint the picture for your partner. And then we all have slightly different interpretations of these things, and that's where a lot of the magic comes in too. Is you'll have like Taurus might mean a little bit something, a little bit. It may have a slightly different flavor for somebody else. And that's not to say like, oh, I think of Taurus as vanilla, but you may think of Taurus as chocolate. Like, that is not how astrology works. I would be like, hey, I prefer more of like a light, like a milk chocolate, and I think of Taurus as more of a dark chocolate, right? It's in the same realm, but it has like a slightly different flavor. It's seasoned a little bit differently, okay? So astrology really works with like pretty hard facts. They're kind of unmovable, but you may interpret those facts slightly different. And that is one of the big differences, I would say, between like astrology versus other types of divination that are more open-ended. That's kind of my thoughts on that. All right. Well, that is a little longer than I wanted this live to be, but I really wanted to go through what a reading could look like and give you a few different examples. I know a few people asked for like, what does a sample reading look like? And so I hope this was really helpful. We're not planning on doing sample readings like in the future lives for the program, just kind of to go over the prompt and give some ideas on like how to do it versus actually doing it with you. But I hope that this was helpful, and if you have questions, you can absolutely put them in the chat. Angel and I will answer them. And yeah, let me check the comments. Roslyn, definitely use the guides. It's super, super helpful, and use your notes. I think almost all, if not all, of these resources are ones I found on either Pinterest or Google. And at the time of creating that guide in Unseen, those are the guides that I've worked with. I have changed some of them, through the 2 years since I put them in there. So it's probably not exact, but they're there, and you can find other ones too. I'm sure it's been 2 years. There's probably better stuff out there, but print them out. If you don't have a printer, like put them on paper, so that you have resources that are yours, that you're used to working with. And again, it takes time. So the more you practice working with them, the more you'll get to know them. And Sarah, good to see you. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. And Roslyn, I'm glad the example was helpful for you. So I'll go ahead and end this now, and we'll get your matches ready for the partnership. And I encourage everybody to, take the test. I think most people were able to pass well. And if you don't, we always provide feedback on any areas that you missed so that you can learn. You need a 70% to pass. And And I think there's two questions that you get an automatic fail, the secret word, and if you don't agree, then you would fail. But as long as you have those, you're good to go. The secret word is on the last live, so you have to watch that partnership overview for the form if you want to take that. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to having you all in the partnership. I know it's going to go great, and I hope everyone has a lot of fun. Bye.